This is Political Junkeez with Brian Howie.
Hi again, everyone. Welcome back to Political Junkeez, the podcast for those hooked on politics. I have questions. I don't necessarily have the answers, but when I have some questions, I bring in people who do, I think, have the answers. Before we came on, she warned me, I have lots of answers to lots of things, but I only have some particular questions, so we're going to have to limit the scope a little bit or we'll go on here all day. She's been on here before. She has the greatest hair this side of the Mississippi. Becky Desmoni, how are you?
Good. How are you? Thank you for having me back.
I feel sheepish around you. I feel guilty because I'm vaccinated. And most people I walk into a store, I'm like, I'm vaccinated. Fuck off. No mask. But around you, I'm embarrassed to admit that I'm vaccinated.
Please don't shut on me.
I feel like I feel like I caved. And I've said a few times to justify my vaccination, I don't like to get vaccinated for things that probably wouldn't kill me. You know, like polio probably would do bad things. I'm going to get vaxxed for that. However,
which is not true. We can do a whole episode.
We'll get to that in a second. You're going to debunk all of this. Certain countries that I go to, you get a list of shots, and then like you got to get these, and you get them, and you go. And I don't think twice about doing that. So rather than scream and yell about whether the vaccine works or not, I caved, and I caved early. I think there is going to be a culture of haves and have-nots and restricted access, which I think is absolutely terrible. But I'm kind of a pussy, and I caved. So I took the words right out of your mouth. So let me start there. Are all the vaccines equally no good in your eyes, the three major ones?
Yes.
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 And the downside of the vaccine, first of all, I admit they were rushed. There isn't any data on them. Aren't these different from our traditional vaccines, though, because there's no live virus? Is that my layman's interpretation of them? They're basically just going in there to trick your immune system to doing things? Which is not good, but how are these different from like your chickenpox vaccination?
Another completely useless vaccine?
Correct. We used to have chickenpox parties back in the day.
I was at those, right. 4th grade, spring break. First of all, you put a lot of pressure on me when you're like, I feel sheepish, I'm bringing someone in. I don't have all the answers. I think I do, and we're going to start out.
You know more than anybody I know about vaccines.
Thank you.
Okay. Even if I bring in a doctor, they tend to have a slant on them one way or another. I feel like you have done the research, and so I respect your opinion on this
very
stuff.
much. And I have argued in one with doctors frequently. So unfortunately with this vaccine, I really don't have the specifics to why why this one is different. They talk about the mRNA. I haven't wrapped my head around it all to find out what exactly it does to the body, because bottom line, I'm not a scientist with things like that. I don't know how the mRNA comes in there and changes the DNA or affects it and replaces things. Everyone is very scared about it. I am also, of course. There's conspiracy theories about it that I'm not really jumping on, and I am a conspiracy theorist where they can get in there and control you and microchip you and things like that. I do think microchips are
I think
coming.
we're already chipped. I feel like I'm chipped.
I could see that.
I feel like somewhere along the line
the dust
we got
particles
chipped.
in the air could have them. They could have it at any
Chip
time.
away. Put a camera in me. I don't care.
It's not very exciting.
I don't
You're
care.
not going to see a lot.
It's not a great show here. Yeah.
I annoy myself sometimes.
What I said though after that, do you believe that there's going to be a haves and have-nots where they're going to really restrict us?
Yes.
In that case, are you going to
Papers, please.
Huh?
Papers, please.
Right.
Gestapo.
Which is terribly dangerous. Started with the schools, started with measles, right? In a lot of school districts. Was that the first sort of domino to fall in all this?
Right. Well, that was the problem, is that we handed over our children without questioning anything. So now the adverse reactions that we're seeing in adults, the seizures that we're seeing, the blood clotting, the Bell's palsy and everything like that, and people are in an uproar about it, and I truly don't understand why, because this is nothing new. The difference now is that adults can vocalize it, and we can see it in a larger human. Bell's palsy is nothing new of a vaccine reaction. We've had Bell's palsy forever. Just that they didn't want to admit that it was a vaccine reaction before. But it is.
Right.
And seizures, that's a normal vaccine reaction with children. We handed over our children.
I know an adult who had a seizure from this vaccine.
And now adults are questioning things. And like I say, we're in an uproar about it. But these adverse reactions are absolutely nothing new.
When did they? I feel like, and I'm not a parent, so I pay very cursory observer of all this kind of stuff. But I noticed there started to be an uproar a couple years ago about, I think it was the measles vax.
MMR. Measles, mumps, rubella is one vaccine,
Right.
which is the autism vaccine.
Right. When did they start requiring that in schools?
So
Not in all schools, but in some schools.
correct. Like technically in Nevada, it is not required. You can go to school, you can go to public school without it. In more of the, which happens to be, I try not to stereotype, but the stereotypes keep falling into the same in the liberal states, California, New York.
It's not a stereotype if it's true.
Thank you.
Right.
It is required for children to have that to be in public schools. I don't know exactly what year it started because I'm a new mother.
Fairly recent, though. It's in the last decade.
I just became a mom. Yeah, my oldest son is about to turn 10. So he's only been in, he's going into 5th grade next year. And I have not had to deal with it here in Nevada that I've had to vaccinate him for school. But if you talk to the average parent, they ask me, they're like, how do you get your kid in school without vaccinations? Because they make you think that it is required.
So you just say no.
And I go, I just send my kid to school.
So when it comes around when they're, I don't know how old they're, and it's like, got to get your shots. Is a rabies shot a vax?
For a dog.
But is it technically a vax?
Yeah, it would be for
Can we get a ruling on that,
for
Travis?
An animal, it would be.
It's a vaccination.
It's a vaccination.
For an animal.
We get our shots. What is the batch of shots that they give to our kids early?
So at 4 hours old, it starts with a Hep B.
4 hours?
4 hours. 4 to 6 hours old, you start with a hepatitis B shot for a vaccine. And actually, previous to that, if you really want to get technical, they start with the vitamin K shot at birth.
And why do they do it so quickly? Or what is their logic behind doing it so quickly?
Their logic with the vitamin K shot is that it clots the blood. And so when we're going into the basics of birth right now, I give birth.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go.
How are babies born?
The birds and the bees.
Yeah.
So when I give birth to my son and...
Travis, can we pull up that footage?
I mean,
Yeah,
The
coming
Becky birth footage, please.
You don't want to see that.
Okay.
It's out there. It's out there.
It's out there on the interwebs.
My poor children. So, and they hand you the baby, and the father comes over and cuts the cord. Initially, right there.
Sometimes.
It's like, yeah. If you know who the dad is, he will come into the room.
Exactly. Sometimes.
Whoever identifies as the dad nowadays.
Exactly.
And if they would just keep the baby attached to the cord and let the cord stop beating, stop pulsing, and get the last bit of blood out to the baby, the vitamin K shot is not required.
Okay.
But they won't do that because medical intervention wants to step in and control everything. So they cut the cord, they tie it up, they separate it, and then they have to now inject the baby with vitamin K to blood clot.
The stuff that would have happened naturally. Okay. Then 4 hours later, what are they doing?
Hepatitis B.
And what will happen if they wait a while to do that? Why is that a rush?
I don't know why it's at that time that they do hepatitis B. The reason of it is because they assume the mom has hepatitis B.
Huh. Okay. Then before they go to school, they have to get a batch.
So you can pull up the standard, between
Vax
0
schedule.
and 18, we are up to 80, between 78 and 87 injections into a child. I don't know exactly what they fall where because, like I say, I don't do with them.
Right.
So I just say no to them. I know they start, you get your 3-month vaccines, you get your 6-month vaccines, you get your 9-month vaccines, your 1 year, your 18-month, your 2 year, your 3 year. I didn't do them, so I don't know exactly which fall where.
I found a resource here that actually shows pretty much.
LearnTheRisk.org is a great resource that I'd love to plug.
CDC.gov.
Give me the
children.
CDC. Give me the vax schedule. So do we still vaccinate for polio or is it gone? And we don't bother.
I think we do.
According to this, until before 7, no.
So
4 weeks after age 7, you need a polio.
At the
So we
beginning,
do.
the kids are getting like whooping cough, DTaP, rotavirus, all of those vaccines. And there's not just one shot that go with those vaccines. You're getting multiple ones that go with those.
And we can't just take a multivitamin?
You would think. You actually can.
Well, that's the whole
You
thing. You know,
actually
we're
can.
we're our whole society is built on a pill and a shot. It's crazy that, you know, not to get too COVID on all these shows because it is political junkies, but it is political, all of this stuff, where they study now 76% of hospitalized COVID patients were overweight.
And vitamin D deficient.
And the one thing we did is we took away the vitamin D and we made everybody obese by staying home. I don't understand the motivation for doing that in the first place, but I don't understand why we couldn't say that out loud the entire time, where we couldn't say there's going to be negative repercussions for everybody. Everybody gaining 15 pounds is like a cute Today Show story. But if you already were 50 pounds overweight, you probably gained 40 more. And the damage from all of this, you know.
And that's what feeds into the conspiracy theories about it being control, is that they are literally putting forth effort with COVID to bump the numbers up. Like if you hear somebody that happened to die of a heart attack, but they had COVID 6 months ago, it's like, yes, we got another COVID death.
Right.
They're actively and putting forth much effort to bump the numbers up and keep them up as high as they can.
Right. And if 500,000 legitimately or not legitimately died of COVID, 5 million are going to die from the reaction to COVID down the road from all this kind of stuff. You're a conspiracy theorist. The thing I've always been wondering, we're trying to figure out for months here on this podcast, is the why. Why are we going through this? Why do they want to mask up and lock down everybody? The only theory that I've heard makes sense to me, and I don't even think it's a conspiracy theory, I think it's pretty legitimate, is the Chinese scared the world with it, put out the zombie footage and the bodies in the street, and this is the plague and everything, and then once the world ran with it, China opened as normal, and it
without the vaccine,
without them, and let them get ahead economically. They basically fooled the world into thinking it was the plague, manipulated the media and the algorithms, and did all that kind of stuff to get maximum hysteria in every other country outside of Southeast Asia, and are laughing the whole time. Well, that's the theory that I go with the most.
I can absolutely get on board with that, and I would think that the elites, like the depopulation elites, Bill Gates and people like that have actively announced for the past decade that we need to depopulate, which we do. We actually do. We are overpopulated. Do I agree with how they're doing it now? Absolutely not. But we are overpopulated as a species. So they joined in forces and was like, we can do this. We can depopulate. They're going to, through the virus and then through the vaccine.
So that's what it is. It's a depopulation motivation.
That's what I think.
That's going to take a long time.
Get back to me on that.
Stuff. I know. Possible. She's throwing out a conspiracy theory to a conspiracy theory. But what it could do for China, we needed all the products while we were locked down from China, so we were still ordering them. They were open after like 3 weeks. They convinced the world that the only way to handle this is strict quarantine. That worked. That was bullshit. They fooled the world into acting the same way.
How is Amazon related to that and things like that? Anybody that profited off of this, my question is, how are you related to China?
Right. Where do you get your products? Where do you manufacture? Where do you do all those things? Why can't we talk about this stuff out loud? Like your average citizen should be like,
You would think.
Why are we locked down? Why are we wearing masks? Why? I don't understand why half of the country loves it. They love it. They want to stay masked forever.
Well, and that's
they want to get vaxxed and masked, like both.
It's a thing.
It's
a thing
it's
right
like
now.
It's like a weird please control me. It's almost like
so
it's
virtuous.
A fetish. Yeah, I don't understand it.
And so how is big tech then related? Because those are the people that are pushing this whole crazy mentality of the vax and the mask and everything like that, and everything gets censored that goes against the agenda.
Right. And tech, the way they are censoring even the raising of the questions, even general scientific discussion by scientists and by doctors
will get shut down.
Somebody is shutting it down, which is really scary and dangerous. We always say it's scary and dangerous how much they have of our information.
Take my information.
Take my information.
I'll talk about it.
What is scary and dangerous is the information we're getting back and how limited and how controlled. And that's a real thing. They don't deny it. It's completely subjective according to their agenda on what we get. Yeah, I get that's the price we pay for using these services. If you don't like it, you don't have to use Google and you don't have to use Facebook. You don't have to use any of them. But because they're such a normal part of our day-to-day in our society now, I think people don't think enough about it and how much you are controlled by the outcome and by the information you're getting back.
Well, we didn't think about it when they were introducing us to this technology, and we were like, wow, text messaging, wow, this is great, and everything, apps and all this. And now you can't live without it. You can't. You can talk about going off grid. You can talk that you're going to do it, and you're not going to.
Yeah, it's real hard. It's real hard to, I mean, you know, they know what you want to buy. They know what you're thinking.
Like
they know the conversations you have.
That.
And I'm fine with that too. I think that's the price we pay. Take my information. Unless you're doing something bad
say whatever I want.
or have something to hide, fine. But you need to be able to give me back honest information or let me see opinions that necessarily don't match up with.
Let me talk in groups to the people that I want to talk to. Things like that you can't even do anymore.
Right. You can't even do it anymore. And the most benign post or questions or search results that people might be looking that do not, it's really narrowed what you're going to get back on this. It's not even like, you can't even ask, like, do we still have to wear masks? You can't even ask a general question about it. It's very, you're either going to get flagged. If you say, I don't want to take the vaccine, maybe it won't get pulled off your feed, but they're going to dial it back down. All of it. And that's bothersome to me.
Well, we have lost all informed consent.
Right.
That doesn't exist anymore when things like
and
this
why
start
do you think
happening.
people are fine with that? And a lot of people are fine with it.
I know. And honestly, because I'm so not okay with it, I don't understand how they are okay with it. I know it's an easier way to live. I know it's an easier mentality. And I've had many times where I've said out loud, I wish I could be like that, because you know they're happier than I am.
I don't understand how, as we record this, we're recording this on a Monday, and yesterday was Sunday. And Sunday morning, Anthony Fauci did what is known as the full Ginsburg, which means that he hit all 4 major news programs on a Sunday. So he hit Meet the Press and everything. And at this point, most people know that he's throwing darts and making shit up. Like, I don't think any reasonable person still thinks Fauci knows anymore. But the networks know that they can get him to say the absolute scariest possible thing, and people eat it up like crack. They're addicted to the fear porn. They love it. That's sick to me.
They like to be locked down. Well,
they like to be locked down. They like to be frightened. They're like, I want to live in this scary movie. They've been scaring us with the variants for months now. It's a non-story.
But that's another thing. Like, if we want to circle back to the basics of vaccines, separate even from COVID, to bring it all together, initially, day one, when a mom gets pregnant, we are told that we are broken. We are told that we need an epidural. We are told that we have to lay down. We have to go to a hospital. If there's one thing that God has made my body to
Baby
do,
making machine.
it is to have babies.
It's to birth them.
I guarantee this. And I was 5 months long before I found an OB that was pro letting me just have a baby without drugs, without a medical intervention and things like that.
Like the rest of the world has been doing forever.
Like, we repopulated the earth many years over.
And it's not like we have the lowest infant mortality rate or anything.
It's extremely high.
We don't. It is extremely
Our
high.
Our SIDS rate is extremely high.
Right.
We are not doing it correct.
Right.
So I'm already told that I'm broken and I can't do this without medical intervention. The one thing that my body was made to do. I have this baby. I am already told that my baby is broken. He's not healthy, and he has to be vaccinated.
Yeah.
At day one, I am born broken.
Broken. And that, and as women, I'm going to transition this into your waving your feminism flag here, or not.
Anti-feminism.
Right. What does that tell the women? It says you're weak. It says you're broken. It says I know you were designed to do this, but unless we help you.
You can't do it.
So dangerous.
And then you have these movies that add into the fear porn beyond anything. And trust me, childbirth, it's as beautiful as it is an ugly process.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hide that.
Footage is on the internet. You want to see where babies come from? Google that.
But then Hollywood, you have these screaming mothers, and, it's like your water breaks and babies start flying out and things like that. And it's nothing.
Because if they told the
happens
truth,
in real
nobody
life.
would have one, or nobody would have another one.
Or,
it's too scary and painful.
well, if they told the truth, people would realize that you can do it without all the drama.
You can.
As I did.
Yeah. And here you are. Let's talk about the anti-feminism thing.
Oh.
How do you define feminism, and what is your issue with it?
Oh, right now with modern day feminism, at this moment, I have a problem with them taking away my feminism and making it
Feminism has taken away your feminism.
in a weird way. Yeah.
Okay.
Like anybody
And what is your feminism?
and anybody can just
Besides your
be
hair.
a woman. My feminism, like,
Yeah, anybody can just be a woman now. So.
yes. And the breakdown of the nuclear family and thinking, so feminism came in and moms had to go out in the workforce. Do I support working moms? Yes. Am I a working mom? Yes. That is my choice. But that is not what we should be. That is not what the war should have been fought for. The war should have been fought to say these moms at home are the real heroes. Not the moms burning the bras to go out and work. Can they do it? And I support them, yes. Like I say, I'm one of them. That is not my important role in life.
Your important role of life is at home. Is
Correct.
home with the kids.
Is raising children and being a mother. And feminism has taken all of that away. And now we have daycares and everyone else raising our children. We have sleep training. You know, you have to train your baby to sleep and things like this. And that's what we're taught from day one. You know, put your baby on a bottle, 6 weeks maternity leave and go back out and work. There's a whole 4th trimester that we're missing. That should have been the focus of feminism. Like, hey, stop the world and let's focus on what's really important with mothers. It's not getting them in the workforce. It's doing what we have to do to support them being mothers.
Yeah, the feminists push the we can do it all, but they won't let you do it the way you want to do or the way you were designed to do.
Right.
You can do it all, but you have to do it like this, and you need to bring in these people, and you need to do it this way. The rise of the so-called independent women has resulted in a lot of really unhappy women.
Very unhappy
I say that all the
women.
time. There's never been a larger pool of unhappy women in this country than
modern
ever,
feminists.
than has ever existed. Yet, this is the price of your independence, I think.
So am I a failure if I'm a stay-at-home mom when really that should have been our main support? If we want to be a productive, strong country, support the moms, support the parents raising the
Don't make
children.
them feel guilty. Yeah. Is that all you do?
Like, so right now
Right.
we have turned our country into broken families, into kids being raised after school with safe key and things like that.
And I know a ton of women who say to me secretly, I'm embarrassed to say it out loud, I really do just want to stay home with my kids. I really don't want to have the career and have everything. I'm more than comfortable having my husband, quote unquote, take care of me while I'm taking care of the kids. They're like, that seems like something that is I shouldn't be ashamed of. And I've been bullied out into the workforce, which hurts my kids, hurts my thing. I know a woman I was talking to the other day. She's like, I make $54,000 and I pay $62,000 in care.
Just to say that she's not a stay-at-home mom because she
Correct.
gets shamed for it. When innately, they are literally trying to rewrite biology. I physically grow the baby inside of me. It is my body that supports life afterwards. That is what I'm made to do. And we are trying to say, no, go out and work. And the man should be working also. The man should be working. We are trying to rewrite basic biology, innate biology and anatomy. It is what it is. And even like if gay couples or lesbian couples want to adopt a baby and things like that, I'm all for it. By all means, if you're going to love that baby, do it. But bottom line, it takes a female and a male to make that baby. It is biology. And we try to rewrite it, and we are going to fail. Mother Nature will win every single time.
We are also rewriting the whole concept of boys and girls.
Yes, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. We are basically saying that a very small pool of people who do have, I don't even know how to say this politically correctly, who are wired a little bit differently, that's the normal now, and nobody's a boy and a girl, and nobody should be forced into a particular gender, and we should lead genderless, and telling your son that he's your son at 3 is somehow
shamed.
Is somehow like making the decision to circumcise him, you know, that you basically cut, put a gender to him that he has not yet chosen. How are you having those discussions around your house or with your kids' friends or any of this kind of thing? Is this thing that comes up where they're identifying with pronouns, or is this Vegas and it's pretty traditional?
Well, only because of COVID, we've been in a bubble because we've been homeschooling. So I'm sure I will be dealing with that the more that they're in the liberal indoctrination school. My kids will be boys. If they ever come to me and say, I don't feel how I feel in my body, I'll have a discussion with them. I already have that discussion kind of laid out and planned for it.
The traditional tomboy is no longer allowed to be a tomboy. They are now instantly identified as, she's not a girl.
And my boys, they're going to kill me for saying this in 10 years, are at home in my closet running around in my high heels. My 9-year-old can't do it anymore because his feet are bigger than mine. He can't fit into them. They're running around in my high heels and putting lip gloss on. Does that make them a girl? No, that makes them like doing what their mom does. They're not going to grow up to be a girl or anything like that. Every boy
It might be a drag queen.
did that, and I'd be okay with that. They stay away from children.
That's fine. That's fine. But that is true. We are taking our perspective and politics and agendas and programs and forcing them on children who, when you're saying, oh, I'm going to just let them find their way. No, you're not doing that. You're taking away their way when they basically want to understand I'm a boy, I'm a girl. And then if they really small percentage of people who don't fit into that.
That's my problem right there, though.
Right.
Is that, so you get these young people and they're like, I feel like I'm a boy, but I'm in a girl body. Inherently, that is a 100% false statement. There is no way me in this body can be like, I feel like I'm a boy. I don't.
Well, that body.
Okay.
I just feel like a boy.
Bless your heart.
Yeah, that's not a boy body.
And I'm very happy to be a girl, obviously. But I can't say I feel like I'm a boy because I have no clue what it feels like to be a boy. That's like saying I feel like I'm a black person in this body.
Right.
I'm not allowed to say that.
Right.
I feel like I'm a tall person in this body. I don't know what it's like to be tall. So
You're that short, guys. You identify as a tall person.
Right.
I identify as 6'4".
I do, though. Which I do.
Yeah.
But I can say I don't feel comfortable in my body. I can say something doesn't feel right.
Right.
I can't say I feel like a man because I don't know what a man feels like. So for them to say that is a 100% false statement.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And that's what I would tell my children. Like, okay, we're going to work through how you're feeling, but you can't say you feel like a girl because you don't know what it feels like to be a girl. And I feel like that's what leads to these suicides after sex changes, is that they feel something off. Society tells them, oh, well, you feel like you're a girl. I feel like I'm a girl in this man body. They get the sex change and like, no, that wasn't it.
I know. It rarely is it. I mean, I don't want to get into all of that, but that rarely is the answer, is the actual procedure. But that's what you said. You're not allowed to say things that are perfectly sensical. And then they're telling you things like, you can't think that, but you must think this. It's always the people on the same side of it. Like, you have to wear a mask, but you can't
Right.
call your child a son,
And
your son.
Yep.
You know, I mean, it's the same thing. And it's these, I don't even think it's a progressive agenda because people have it, all side of it. It's people who are just so terrified to be like, this is what I think, too bad, or this is what I believe, and have at it. We let people have, we pretty much leave them alone on religious beliefs. People are allowed to have them. We fight over them. All the wars happen over them. But people are like, oh, they believe that. That's interesting. That's weird. But if you believe something like, my 9-year-old Lila, we call her our daughter, and some parents are like, what? Kids calling their parent.
How dare you call your daughter your daughter?
Do your kids call you what? They call you mom?
Mm-hmm. Ima, mom, yeah.
So because a lot of them call by their first names.
I would slap my
I
child.
would too, but I think there needs to be barriers. We have somebody in the peanut gallery. Adam, give him a mic.
So playing soccer growing up, if I said mom, 30 moms would turn around and look.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's
So
a
I
point to
started
that.
saying Karen. And the wrath of some of the other parents, like they thought I was so disrespectful. And my mom has always said, for that reason. But I called her a Karen at times, not now.
But there was a point to that. There was a
Yeah, there
safety
seemed
point
like
to
a
that,
reasonable.
which is true because I hear kids say mom and 4 of us turn our heads.
Exactly.
Like, does that belong
so
to
I
me?
don't think,
Oh, I mean, but I could say, honey, and a bunch of women might turn around if I was talking to one honey,
It's
or
true.
my girlfriend or something. You know, I mean, we get around it. But this, like, I'm going to be your friend. I mean, I'm not going to get into parenting because it's always, you know, you can listen
I'm
to.
not my children's
You can listen
friend.
to my podcast, the Non-Parents Guide to Parenting. But we're so afraid to do anything traditional because I don't know why we perceive that we were fucked up back for years. We're fucked up now.
I think the pendulum swings, so we have to
I think
swing
it's swinging
so
the wrong
far,
way and it swings
100%.
back. There's gonna become there has been that did happen with after MeToo. So 3 years ago, a big percentage of the women were like, I feel validated in the way I've felt and the way I've been treated by men, and they're completely right to feel that. And a percentage of men were like, yeah, I have been an asshole. And everybody sort of put their cards on the table. But eventually a percentage of the women were like, you know what? I don't feel that a guy can't make a move on me. And I don't feel that he can't ask me. And I don't feel that I'm weak if he holds the door. And I'm not and they were like, hey, hold on a second. There was sort of a line there where people were like, you know, even now, we talked about this on the last episode here. The reason that the Governor Cuomo sexual harassment stuff is having trouble gaining real traction is because a lot of it is just like, what, he told her she was hot? And a lot of women are like, that's actually fine, and I wish he told me that.
And I like when doors are open for me. And I'm 5 feet. I'm 5 feet tall, and if you're going to pick up something that's heavy for me, that is innately
And a guy,
what
he
a
kissed me on the
male should be
cheek and he
doing.
said hi, and all these kind of things that a 60-something-year-old Italian man in New York did normally, and a whole generation did that. They're thrown, and I'm not sure, as I said on the last podcast too, that he's not leaking that stuff to distract from the serious nursing home shit. That he's like, hey, ask this girl about how I told her she was hot. Go interview that. Distraction. But a lot of these things are not getting traction because they're like, I don't think
they shouldn't.
They shouldn't.
Like,
but if that happened 3 years ago, he would have been out of office already,
Kavanaugh.
I think. Right. Kavanaugh that's funny you bring that up. Kavanaugh was the turning point. Because some women were like, that's every asshole I went to college with, and I hate that. And some women were like, God, the shit I didn't. We all did shit in college. We all played beer pong and played strip poker and everything.
My girlfriends do.
Yeah, we all did shit. Right. You know, I know a woman now. She's like, can you believe the kids are what the kids do now? And I'm like, the only difference between them and you is we're filming it now.
Is social media.
Yeah, we have cameras now. Like, I'm like, you were running around fraternity houses naked all the time. And she's like, no. And I was like, no, we were doing things. We're able to witness things now, and we're able to share things now, but we all...
Right. No one forced you into that wet T-shirt contest, sweetie.
No one did, and you got the $50 in the visor, you know? Yeah, you got it.
For
and
the
you
record,
won, and
I
you should
have
be
no
proud.
visor.
You have no visor.
For the record.
You got the trophy. That's true. Nobody forced it. People used to say that back in the day about Girls Gone Wild, that the women were forced to do stuff, and I'm like, no, they wanted the competition, the compensation, the validation, all of it. They would line up around the corner, and the shit that the girls wanted to do would get the bar shut down. You know, that was women competing with other women. That wasn't men exploiting the women.
The problem with that, the fine line that we walk with that, is that it does get into the workplace. So then, what do I miss out on because I won't do what other women will do in the workplace? That's the hard part.
That's women to women, though.
It 100%.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming the men.
Right. There are a lot of women in Hollywood
is-
that I know that are actresses that are pissed because they're like, if I want to feel empowered and I'll go find the executive that I got to screw to get the job,
Right.
I want to do. Sharon Stone used to brag about that. She's like, tell me who the guy's in charge with and I'm going to have sex with them.
Right.
And she looked at that as empowered. And a lot of women are like, the casting couch was a way that I could take advantage of. It wasn't, nobody was forcing these women to do a lot of these things.
And I've dealt with that being a boss woman, whatever that
Boss woman.
hashtag is.
Lady boss.
Yeah, girl boss. When women have to deal with me and they have to actually use their words and articulate and have a conversation because their bodies don't work with me like they would with the men is a very difficult
Right.
thing for them.
And you're like, I know that move. I invented
Right.
that move.
And I'm like, I'm not a lesbian. It's not going to work on me.
right.
You know, you actually have to talk to me. You have to have a conversation to get what
using
you want.
the
and they don't know how to
sexuality
do
was
it.
an empowering thing for a lot of women, and now we've neutered everybody. And when we did it in the middle of a couple generations, that had communicated that way for 20 or 30 years, and you expect everybody to just figure out a new way to do it. People are lost. People are losing jobs. People are losing opportunities. Relationships are falling apart. Everything, because we suddenly, it's not like we're like, oh, we're going to, we tried to shift this country into the metric system 20 or 30 years ago. And
Americans are too dumb for that.
We're just like, we're not doing that. And now we're sort of doing the same thing. We're like, this is where we're going to call each other. This is how we address each other. This is how we behave. And we're failing miserably. And so the AI and the Chinese are coming in and taking advantage of this basically not just information gap, this information paralysis that we're going through right now.
So I do want to circle back, though. Do you like that? Even though I'm
circle back.
Even though I miss Kaylee, I do want to circle back. Did you have any questions about the vaccine, though? Because then you brought up religion, how we can talk about religion, but can we? So if I say my religion doesn't allow me to get the vaccine, which is true, am I allowed to be religious now?
Well, that's a good point. I don't think any of these will hold up in court.
Any of what?
Any of them. I don't think a mask mandate would hold up in court. I don't think required vaccination would hold up in court. I think, though, that we're talking about 5 or 6 years for these cases to get their way through the system. Mm-hmm. And in the short term, everybody's going to have a huge problem because they're going to be forced to do this. I don't think you can, the government can mandate anybody to wear a mask. And people are always like, no, seatbelts. Well, the federal government certainly didn't mandate seatbelts. And the seatbelt law took decades to get through and tons of legal challenges. So if you're saying, no, everybody's got to wear masks, if somebody pursued that, and I'm sure if you said, I can't do this because of I need a vaccine to have access to something, that's getting into the I won't serve you because of a health condition. That's an ADA situation. Being unvaccinated is essentially perceived as a handicap.
Which is crazy because if we're the ones that don't have it, and we're the villains now.
Right.
So
if you don't have it, but it's perceived as you're somehow medically different, that the ADA is very broad. Mm-hmm. It covers a lot of shit. Those people will be protected. I just think in the short term, it's going to take so long to get its way through the court system that we're going to have, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of this stuff being at least short-term normal before it circles back.
Well, and the problem is that people that were on the cusp are, they're just going to go ahead and get the vaccine. So then it makes it harder for people like us that are really trying to fight for you.
Right. And then the other thing is, we're making, on one hand, we're making decisions like we pulled the vaccine off the market because of, I think, some outliers. Some Johnson & Johnson one because some people are we can argue about how many are getting blood clots, but it's still a small percentage.
But it was a small percentage dying of COVID, yet we shut down the world.
Correct. That's exactly what I was going to do. We used outliers to make legislative decisions and school decisions and shut it down. It doesn't make any sense. We are cherry picking what we want for agenda. There's no inconsistency. I ask these questions all the time. We ask them on this podcast all the time. I ask them in my real life all the time. I cannot believe the amount of people that don't care and want to be told what to do. And if you want to be told what to do, that's fine. But then don't tell me,
So I just had this crazy thought, but I'm going to share it with you. Can we do that here?
Share away. Share your crazy thoughts.
So there's a whole community of people that are in charge, and they're in charge in their life every day. And so in their fun time, they like to have other people in charge.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have both working parents out in the world in charge, making decisions all day. So maybe we're at the point now where they're like, I don't want to make decisions anymore. Just make my decisions for me, government.
I think that's true.
Feminism has ruined us in more ways than one.
Right. I don't want to have to think about, you want to mask me, If you want to wear a mask in the grocery store, have at it. But the fact that we're wearing them as theater now,
and we're wearing them fun time, please,
as a symbol. What?
Can you clarify fun time?
I don't know.
There's hashtags that go with that community.
Yeah, hashtag fun time. That people are like, when they use it doesn't hurt to do it. It doesn't hurt. Well, especially
it's just this.
It's just this. It's only this. It's for a little while. It's this long. You can do it. Well, when you're talking about masking up a 4-year-old who's wired to look for facial cues in the people around him to get information. Don't tell me that it's just this, or it's only going to take time, or it's no big deal, or you can breathe fine, or everything. It's not about that. It's about why are we doing it? Why do we have to do it? And as somebody who is on the other side of the fence, fully vaxxed as they wanted to, I feel like I got tricked. I feel like they bullshitted me.
Because you're in the same position I am still.
Exactly. It's no different to me. I still could get sick, all of it, just like anything else.
And you still have to wear a mask.
Still have to wear a mask. Still have to. Nobody can talk. It's complete bullshit to me. I feel like that they wanted us to all do this, and they keep moving the goalpost down the road on all of it. If somebody just said, this is the end of the road, like certain communities and states are doing, then you could probably get people to do whatever you want. But now by just saying like, nope, a little longer, that becomes the norm, you know?
And it's almost like they conditioned that with the 15 days. A little longer. And then it becomes your Just
normal
the
to
tip.
put your mask, and you don't leave your house without a mask. And they're like, no, well, in Japan, they wear masks all the time. No, they don't. They only wear them when they feel actually sick. And they wear them as a sign to let other people know around them that I'm sick. Stay away from me. Healthy people do not mask in Asia. That's not the normal. That's nothing. But we've somehow convinced a huge percentage of the public, like when Kamala and Biden and all the senators and congressmen who are fully vaxxed.
Alone on an airplane.
Alone by
masked
themselves,
up.
and they are masked up. It's theater, but the people are buying the tickets to the theater, and they like
They
it.
love it.
They love it. I
Do you
don't
think it's
understand
almost
those
like
people.
that gang mentality? Like they feel like they belong then? They feel like they're out on the front lines of the war with this mask?
It's the
They
same
feel
thing.
tough again?
It's religion. It's
People
the
want to
same
fit
thing.
in that bad?
I want to be a part of this group because they're not that group. All of this stuff goes back to if Trump had been the biggest mistake Trump made is he should have been like, I love the masks. Nobody would have worn the masks. I think a whole lot of every single thing we do is because people are still addicted to Trump.
Yeah. I can agree with that 100%. Or they got so deep into their, if Trump says it, I'm going to do the opposite. If he doesn't say I'm going to do the opposite, that it's easier for them to go with it rather than admit that they're too far down the hole.
Nobody's admitting it. That's the thing.
Even
The biggest
Fauci,
pearl
the first
clutchers,
one.
they're not going to be like, you know what? Yeah, that was silly. Even now when they came out now that all this mindless scrubbing and sanitizing and shooting industrial grade chemicals all over this place didn't do anything for COVID. It's probably going to give us all cancer.
Yeah,
Probably is. Like we're just gunning this cheap chemical shit all over every surface. You're sitting down to eat or whatever. Doesn't as it turned out, it didn't do shit for COVID, but we're just eating chemicals.
In addition, then it ruins the immune system that you did have in every way.
It does. And nobody talks about that. We all know that. And, oops, we were wrong on this. Oops, we were wrong on this. Yet you're willing to be like, well, science changes. And I'm like, so why are you choosing the side that is completely radical from anything we've done for 100 years in this country? The idea that like, oh, they used the mask for the Spanish flu in 1918. They didn't work, so they never used them again.
Okay, so now
There have been 100 viruses since then. We never used them again.
And the masks in the Spanish flu of 1918, which actually came from an army inoculation, the Spanish flu.
Mm-hmm.
Are we allowed to call it the Spanish flu now anymore?
I'm calling it that.
Spanish flu it up. And those masks were causing lung infections.
Yeah.
So fast forward to now where how we were saying all of our information is censored and the media. So what was the truth that we don't have access to the truth of that anymore?
No.
I start thinking about things like
They've
that.
been scrubbing all of the CDC posts and information and advisories. Like you really can't even go back past last year. 40 years of studies on everything and advisories. And it's one thing if they said, well, these were wrong. The fact that they deleted the information. So you can't even compare policy. You can't compare recommended intervention steps, nothing. The fact that they've just scrubbed it drives me nuts.
And I feel like they waited just the right amount of time till that generation had died off, like the Tuskegee generation and people like that were around, even the Holocaust generation.
Yeah,
There's
they can't
very
vouch
few
for the steps that took.
survivors left anymore. So
Right.
now we're just going off this. We're trying to find these tidbits of information that we can't really get.
They're like, hey, that's how that started then. Yeah, there's not enough people to speak up about that. That's a good point. Final thought, piece of wisdom or
This hour
information.
went by that fast.
Yes, it did.
Well, do you have any? I'm going to hand this back to you. Do you have any last questions about vaccines that I can help you with?
I do. Are you more on the side of the vaccines will hurt us or that they just won't do much good?
So the truth, I'm on the side of both. Honestly, I do think they will hurt you. I do think they are messing with your system. And I don't know what studies they've done to say that if I have these previous vaccines in my body, how is this going to act with those vaccines? And the point of being anti-vax is not saying like, oh my gosh, I hate doctors, I hate vaccines. We're fighting for nothing to be forced inside of us because the next thing that they force might be something that you guys don't want.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
So that's what we're fighting against, or anything. Or what if it's a infertility shot?
Yeah, it should be.
For the depopulation.
My body, my choice suddenly is out the window from the people again on the same side. You got to have a vax. Don't tell me what to do with my body, but you better have a vax if you want to come into my restaurant.
Right. But I don't think the vaccine, as we're seeing, we have, last I checked, it was 5,800 cases of vaccinated people have come back COVID positive after the vaccine. And what this is doing to hurt us, we will not see for years to come.
Why do they keep wanting us to get flu shots?
Because they don't work. And
I know, but why do they? Is it who makes the money off the flu shots?
Whoever, big
insurance
farm,
companies, big farm,
and I do
because
think,
they're free flu shots. Somebody's
correct.
paying.
Anything that's free is a catch. I do think that's part of the depopulation also, because once you get 5 flu shots, your risk of dementia goes up 10% for every 5 flu shots, things like that, because the aluminum that it sets in the brain and things like that.
That's true.
The heavy metal. The heavy metals. That's why our
I don't even care if that's true. That sounds scary enough.
Yeah,
I'm buying that.
That's why dementia's on the rise and things like that, because of the heavy metals and vaccines. So what happens when they lose? The old people start losing them. They don't have to pay Social Security and things like that anymore.
That's true. Yeah. No, I've never gotten a flu shot. I'm like, I'll probably be fine.
You did though, Mr.
No,
COVID.
I got the vaccine. I got the COVID shot.
The Wu flu.
I did. I got that. I mean, you're like, that's the... See, I can't even get into that argument anymore. That's true. This was fun. Thank you for doing this again.
Thank you for having me.
I always feel a little bit smarter when you come
Thank you.
and do
That's the
this.
biggest compliment I could get.
Okay. Well, there you go. As far as us, as always, like, share, subscribe, and please review Political Junkeez. Your reviews, thoughts, and feedback mean a lot in the podcasting ecosystem. And we will see you next time on Political Junkeez.